Mature. Hosted by Damian Phillips, it's informative, provocative, and unconventional. Hosted by Damian Phillips, Lifestyle.
Sweetheart afraid. Say my wife and me sweetheart afraid. One live a 5 and no one live a 10.
Let me say good evening and thanks for joining me. My name is Damian Phillips. I'm your host. Why I'm taking on a topic tonight. So I keep on asking. I've been asking this question for a while. Is monogamy natural? Where did this whole concept of monogamy come from? Where did it come from? Or better question is, why did we become monogamous? So I have two ladies with me this evening. So let me go ahead and add them to the live. Kevin, where are you, Kevin? I don't want to be the only male in here tonight. So let me go ahead and add my guests. And then should I go in the middle? Should I go in the middle? Good evening, ladies. How are you doing?
Good.
Hey, Carla. I think you mute your mic, Carla. So you need to unmute your mic. There we go. No, I think you mute it back. So no, she leave the studio. All right, please come back. So Dominique, how you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am great. I'm a bit nervous because this topic, I keep on saying I need to do this topic, but I don't know what is going to the turnout is going to be. Let me see if we have. Oh, Kevin is here. Okay. All right, device not connected. I think that is Carla coming back. Let me just wait a minute. Kevin, just a call in. Greetings to you too, sir. But just a call in here and say, yo, where Kevin there? Because I don't want to do this topic as the only male. But me know you don't do it. You don't make promises and don't fulfill. So good evening. On your stream, those of you just joining us, welcome to Lifestyle. My name is Damian Phillips. I'm your host. And with me this evening, I have Dominique, I have Carla, and Kevin from the Stew Pot. So later on, you're going to hear all of the plugs from everybody right there. So yes, I was trying to get to hear Carla a while ago and it didn't work. So let me try that again. Hey, Carla.
Okay now? Hey, can you hear me?
How you doing? Yes, I'm hearing you.
I'm doing good today. How are you?
I am nervous. I don't know if I can do this topic. I'm wondering if I'm gonna get thrown out after I'm done. So maybe no. You know what? I'm going to do less talking and just ask questions.
That might be safe. That might be the safe way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. So again, let me say good evening to those of you just joining. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Twitter. I was going to say simultaneously, but that means two, whatever. I don't know if that's a word.
Simulcast.
There we go. So I see Alisa just liked the video. Guys, please like and share. Also, I'm trying to hit the people, so I must take off chunks. I really want 500 by the end of the year subscribers on YouTube. We're at 304 the last time I checked. So can you please guys help me to reach 400 subscribers on YouTube? So please go over to Lifestyle channel on YouTube, lifestyle.tv. That's all you need to put in and subscribe. Even if you prefer watching on YouTube and Facebook, please subscribe on YouTube. So I saw this photograph well, it wasn't a photograph, it was more than one, with a young man. I think he's 38 years old, and he was in the middle of his two wives, and they were kissing and all of that. And I'm like, okay, I think I need to. And I think, except Carla, I think Dominique commented on it and Kevin commented on it. Kevin, what did you say?
Yes.
I'm like, yes, man, you're drying out the people. What was it? I don't remember.
But I think I draw for the popcorn emoji meme thing. I was waiting to see what some people are going to be saying,
Yes, 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 me too. But Dominique, she commented and she said, I want to be a part of this discussion. Why?
You know, I like, how do I say this? I like the controversy. So
Oh,
I say, let's have a conversation about it.
sweet, sweet. And I hope I didn't come off wrong with that question because you, Carla, Kevin, you guys are welcome here. If you want me to do one topic, just say, deal, let us discuss this. So, you know, that I didn't, yeah. So, previous
it's all
show,
about the controversy. For Dominique, it's all about the controversy. It's
you
not.
will hear more later on, Kevin. You will hear later on.
Honestly, I love a great debate, and especially when you're talking about a topic that is going to be, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Not widely accepted. So I'm down for the conversation. Yeah, let's have a conversation about it.
And I love it. So previous shows, with Carla as my guest, she hinted at some stuff, and I don't know if you can recall, Carla, but I said, no, hold on, all these things until when we're discussing that kind of thing. One that came to my mind though, thinking of it, is one night you said that you mentioned about even the age thing, to say it's almost natural for a man to choose a younger woman because of, I don't know if you remember. You remember that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Definitely. Well,
So,
I mean,
let's start off there.
Okay. So, you know, for me, I'm always down with the challenge of any type of perspective on certain formations of relationships. And so a lot of times we'll talk about, you know, an older man, older woman kind of thing. And at the time, I believe my perspective on that was, you know, when men are a little older, they tend to draw to the younger woman because they, you know, there is in the life cycle where gentlemen can return back to their youthfulness. And so when they do their sway back into their youthful side, you know, they attract to a woman that, of course, meets that that thirst for life, that excitement, that spontaneity. And so what I was saying at that time is that sometimes elder men are attracted to younger women. Now, as far as with the discussion this evening about polyamory or polygamy or having multiple partners, for me, I'm always about, rather than pitching being monogamous or pitching being poly or whatever the pitch is, because that is a pitch. People try to pitch to you what style of relationship you should be involved in. I always say, don't be, moved or focused merely on the style of relationships, but what about the functionality of the relationships? My thing is this. A lot of relationships that come into play, a lot of times there's turmoil, there's dysfunction, there's agony and frustration. I don't care if it's monogamy, I don't care if it's polygamy, I don't care if it's whatever type of relationship. You're going to find a lot of distress in those relationships. So to me, functionality is key to any relationship. I have opened myself up to understanding open relationships. I have talked and discussed with many people that are in swinging relationships, all different kinds of relationships that I don't endorse, but I don't sit back and say that I judge them. But what I do say is, are they functional? Is the relationship, whatever relationship you're in, are they functional? That's the most important part. And are all parties involved? If it's one-on-one, or, monogamous, whatever, are they both in it organically, or are they in it because of obligation? So to me, I think it's key to see which is most important. Is it important to be in a monogamous relationship because you feel that you should be because of obligation, or are you in that type of relationship because it's developed into that type of relationship? So to me, functionality is key. I also said before, I think I even came on beforehand, that men are not naturally by nature monogamous. They're
I
not.
said that last night on
But
a
does
show, and
that,
I got chewed out by the host, which is a male host, and not female. I got
it's
chewed
okay.
out.
It's okay. They can come from my head. I'm fine with that. You know, I don't mind taking that on,
Yes.
but they're not. By nature, they're not monogamous.
Mhm,
So if a man develops into monogamy, that's because of his own internal desire to do so, and it has organically developed into that. Can men be monogamous? Absolutely. But again, if they are monogamous, are they functional? That's the most important.
Right.
So it's vital and important that we sit back and look and see what's the functionality of the relationships, not necessarily based upon what style of relationship. And I think mainstream spends a lot of time on focusing on what to pitch, what style of relationship to be in, rather than allowing the relationships to develop into what is best for them.
Yes, I agree. Dominique, your take on all of this polygamy, monogamy, polyandry. What's your take?
Well, one thing I want to touch on is I agree with most of what Carla said. But her comment about the men naturally date younger women, I think women equally naturally choose older men, and at all ages. I think at whether you're in your teens, whether you are in your mid-20s, 30s, 40s, I think women generally or just as equally naturally go after older men, whether that be about maturity, because men mature, not as quickly as women, or so that's the perception, whether it be about financial stability, whatever the situation is, a lot of women gravitate towards older men, whether it be a couple years older or a decade older. I think that's just equally natural. I also agree with what she says about the style of relationships. And I think a lot of times people are more invested in the style of a relationship because it's trendy. It's what's in style right now. Just like now, even without talking about polygamy or talking about having multiple wives, people now are so into the idea, like women are bisexual now, not because they naturally want to be they're naturally attracted to men and then they're naturally attracted to women, but more so because you hear about it in rap music, you watch it on TV,
it's trending
in everyday life. It's trendy for women to be bisexual. So get into those relationships with men where they're comfortable being a side chick, or they're comfortable knowing that he has a wife, and because it's just trendy, or they want to bring somebody else in. They're cool with all of their best friends engaging, not because they're interested in that lifestyle, but because it's trendy to be in that lifestyle. So about the relationship being functional, I totally agree with that. Even in a monogamous relationship, if you are a compulsive cheater, or we understand mistakes happen. I'm not so sure how that mistake happens, but things happen. Right place, right time. Anybody is subject to anything. So, but if you're a compulsive cheater, it's something that you know you're going to do. There are a lot of men who know that they'll sleep with the first thing that offers themselves to them. And if you call yourself in a monogamous relationship, or you're telling somebody that they're the only ones, then that relationship is not functional, or at least it's not functional for you, because you would rather be with multiple partners than a singular partner. And at that case, then you need to get out of a monogamous relationship. So I totally agree with that. As far as polygamy goes, again, back to the functionality. If it works for you, it works for you. I typically don't like to give relationship advice to people, because just because something worked in my household does not mean it's going to work in yours. I could have a healthy, happy relationship, never have an issue, but that doesn't mean the advice I give you is going to work in your household. So functionality is definitely key, but I think people need to know themselves first before they concern themselves with getting in a functional relationship.
Let me go ahead and I like that. I have some parts I want to pick up, but let me get Kevin's opening remarks.
All right. Greetings and salutations, all. Now, for me, when it comes to the subject of poly, and I just leave it at poly, it is really the individual involved in the relationship. Just like Carla had said, you're looking at the functionality of the relationship. But before you really getting into relationships with someone else, I really believe that in order to have that functionality in a relationship, you have to really have a functional relationship with yourself. So you have to identify, you have to recognize who you are. Because at that point, now you can transmit, you can relay that information to whomever it is that you're coming into contact with. And like you both said, Dominique and Carla, when it comes to having that functional relationship, that is important. And whether you're mono or you're poly, you need to be able to express that. And if there's something that is not working for you, you need to be able to express that. What I find in a lot of relationships, and I don't give relationship advice at all. There's a DJ before my name, not a DR.
Okay.
That's for a reason. So when it comes to relationships, and what I've found is that a lot of people have a concept of what a relationship should be. And that is what they're working with. So you mentioned, Dominique, you mentioned trending, things that are trending. Well, at one point, getting married and staying married to one person for the rest of your life, that was the trending thing. And that lasted for a very long time. But when that started trending, it started trending from something else. And the something else tends to be forgotten. Because really and truly, this monogamy thing is not as old as you'd like to believe, as many would like to believe. So I'll just start off with that.
Okay.
Damien.
Okay.
And then we can run from there.
Good. So I hear both of you, Dominique and Kevin, said they don't give advice. Now let me tell you, Carla is a coach, life coach. So this is her field. So guys, you don't have to listen to what Dominique said or Kevin, but listen to what Carla said. Because yeah, that's her thing. But Kevin touched on something a while ago.
I do want to say,
Go ahead, Carla.
and I think it's very important, Damien, that we must make sure we talk about this. This is vital. Vital in any relationship, whether it's poly, mono, whatever type. You have to be honest about your sexual truth. And what I mean, you have to be honest with your sexual truth to yourself first. So if you have certain desires, certain things that you want in your sexual life, you need to be upfront with yourself first. Okay. And then, because I notice a lot of times in monogamous relationships, men hold back or withhold their sexual truth from their partner, or the female also, I'm noticing currently, is that the woman is also holding back her sexual truth. See, I was just talking the other day with a friend of mine, and I was saying, you know, in my growing up, I recall, and Dominique could probably remember this, when we were younger, we used to hear, you know, elder people say, don't be hanging out with them boys. Don't be, you know, get your little fast self in here. You need to stop being fast. And let that little fast, hot little girl over there. And don't be shaking your bottom and get those clothes on. And so because that has been a conditioning within the woman herself, she has been conditioned to not show skin, to not be sensual, to not be flirtatious. We have been capped off for so long to be a sensual woman that a lot of times by the time we get into a relationship, we only can show that sensual side to our man. And then it caps us off to a degree to where if we're sensual with some other person, or other women find us attractive, or other men find our sensuality a beautiful thing, then it's an issue in the relationship. Oh, now what you're trying to be flirtatious with, you know, with other men, or what she thinks she's all that, or she's all trying to hit on this man and hit on that. It becomes to be a stigma on women to be sensual in her presence, to be beautiful, to feel herself, to be excited, to be sensual.
Right.
And so that does hinder relationships, because what people are not understanding is as long as women suppress their sensuality, and as long as women hold back their sexuality, what happens is it suppresses their their success in themselves, believe it or not. Sexual energy actually it really truly in its without it being volatile, but in its beauty and in its expression, it can actually help for the person and the woman to extend herself into herself being a more supreme being. And Dominique can also remember the Supremes. That was a perfect name for women. Diana Ross was a beautiful woman. Now, was she physically beautiful? That's, only men can answer that. But her beauty exuded to a high supreme level because she was about her sensual self. She was about her sexual being. She was very expressive, and she was a performer. When a woman does that and brings that out of herself, that helps a woman to succeed in not just her life, but in her purpose. Because our sensuality and our sexuality pushes us into a new ambiance of what we never could imagine. But a lot of times we suppress it because we've been taught, don't be fast.
Right.
Get your little hot self over here and sit down, and don't be talking to them boys and all this other stuff. And that is a mark on the woman because she cannot express herself. And so I think that does embark a huge problem with a woman having her ability to express her sexual truth.
You know what? I agree with that, but I also think it can have an adverse effect because I've seen the same women in the same age group grew up in those same kind of households who, when they finally get introduced to something that they're not accustomed to, they lose themselves in that. So I've seen it on the other side as well. They go from being, you can't do this, you can't do that, to being so uptight. A lot of it is religious based. In Christian households, and then all of a sudden they get outside in the world and they get a taste of excitement or a taste of life, and they lose themselves in that. They become addicts to whether it's sexuality or drugs, but they become addicts of that lifestyle. So I think it could have an adverse effect as well. And your point about women coming into their sexuality, I wonder how difficult of a challenge is that actually when most women they start out their sexuality under some form of pressure, whether it be the pressure to lose your virginity first.
2 out of 3 Americans.
Or this guy that you like is constantly saying, hey, if you love me, you'll do this for me. 9 times out of 10, the first time a woman had sex, there was some form of pressure on her. So if that's your first experience, and every experience after that is just a little bit more competition, a little bit more trying to outdo somebody else talking you into something else, how difficult is it for women to actually come into their sexuality naturally if they're not engaging in natural, I don't want to say it's not natural sex, but if they're not doing that, it's not evolving with them naturally. How difficult of a task is that actually?
I think that is all, I think it's on an individual basis. It can kind of fluctuate depending on the woman. See, I think that self-pleasuring, masturbation, I think expression of her sexual truth comes from her being into herself first. So regardless of exploring with a man, that's only going to be advanced based upon what they create together. So actually, a man can actually draw you based upon how good of a lover he is, how into your attraction you are with him. And we find ourselves as women more, if you notice, if we see a handsome man on TV, we can be, aroused, or we can be like intrigued by him. Or if a man is telling you and teaching you something, you find yourself drawn to his intelligence or his debonair, or whatever. And so I think it's vitally important that we realize that our sexual truth starts with us first. So we have to explore our own sexual desires in ourselves first by self-exploration sexually. We also need to study sex, learn what are we capable with achieving in sexuality on our own, not with a mate, but first finding out some serious sexual questions. Like a lot of things I learned was just by reading about it, learning about it, studying. really trying to understand it, because a lot of women, they've never climaxed, they've never had orgasm, they don't even know if they like to be touched vaginally, or they don't even know if they like penetration. They don't know. They just know that's what we're supposed to do. So really the way you become the better lover is first exploration of yourself sexually. Masturbation is very important, and very important to figure out, well, what about myself can I do to learn about me?
It's interesting you say that, because I almost cut off Dominique earlier when she was talking about, sometimes you'll find people overindulging after being exposed. Because I was about to say, I know of people that I grew up in the church with, some of them even older than me, and they would say, no, masturbation is sin, it's wrong and all of that. But no, every new toy comes out, they can actually give you a tutorial. They have all of it that, so can you overindulge though, Carla?
I think so. I think we can overindulge in anything. We have to understand everything comes with balance. So again, even in sexuality, we have to balance ourselves. I also have on my YouTube channel, I've discussed about using sex toys and how it is very important that we don't use them too much, because of course it could cause, once you get with a partner, you'll find yourself not as intrigued anymore, because it's not doing the same thing the toy was doing. So a man
cannot compete with a machine.
No. So it's important that there has to be a balance in whatever you do. And that also includes self-pleasuring. You have to have points in time that you do and you don't. You have to allow your body to go through its own evolution of learning of self. And sexuality is very important. It's powerful. But it's also can be, you can definitely overindulge in it, definitely.
Kevin, you want to add anything to that? I have a video I want to play.
This is why I was saying earlier about the recognition of self and the identification with self. And far too often in our societies, it doesn't really matter if it is the Caribbean that you grew up in, or in Europe, or in the US, in the Americas. Apparently, it's the same everywhere. You learn who you are last, and it seems to almost never be encouraged
on you by
to
society
know who you are.
This is how you're supposed to operate. This is how you're supposed to live.
Exactly. So now you have things that are considered taboo. The way how you're supposed to dress. So if you find, all right, when piercing ears became a thing in Jamaica for guys, if you pierce the right ear, it meant one thing. If you pierce your left ear, it meant another thing. If you pierce both ears, you're gone all the way off the reservation. And it was just a mentality. And for me, it all comes back to a mentality. What is it? How was it that you were conditioned?
We tend to bash things that we don't even know about. So we're ignorant to the thing, but we bash it. Yes. Even the earring you talk about. When I pierced my ear first, I got a lot of flack. Like people I'm like, listen, I'm an African. Go and check it up. Even the Bible itself, there is Deuteronomy 34, when Moses went up to the hills and all of that, the people went to his brother Aaron and say, yo, Moses gone, we need something for worship. And he said to the men, go to your wives and your sons and break off the golden earring. And that is what they used to make the golden calf. That is just for the Christian people. So I'm saying this wearing of earring thing, it didn't start in America. So when it started like propping up in Jamaica, it went through that stage or phase where it was bashed first and condemned. And like I was saying, just to add to your point, we tend to bash things that we don't know. Even what we're talking about now, the poly. Some people say, no, it must be mono, can't be poly, and then they cuss what they don't know.
Right.
So you finish up your point, because I feel like
your sound cut off.
No.
Your sound just cut off. No man, you can do the video. You can run the video.
No, it looked like Dominique had something to say though.
No, I was good. I was waiting for Kevin to finish his point.
Okay. Yeah, it sounded like I cut him off and he's saying, no, go ahead. But anyway.
No, man, we're good, man.
Let's watch this clip. And if you're just joining, let me say welcome to Lifestyle. Remember, guys, I'm asking you to go over to my YouTube channel and like it. I'm trying to get, that is my Christmas gift that I want. 400 is really 5, but maybe I'm pushing it. I'm at 304 now. I need 400 subscribers by the end of the year. Please help me to do that.
No man, 5 man, 5. We're going to 5. 5.
All right, 500 by the end.
We're going to 5.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We're going to 5, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, 500 subscribers. All right, let's go over here.
Hi, I'm Jay, and today I'm going to be talking about the 4 major types of polyamory. So first I have a little disclaimer because I'm going to make a lot of generalizations in this video. If I didn't, this would probably turn into a documentary, and that's not why any of us are here, so I'm going to keep it brief. There's a lot of nuance in everything I'm going to talk about, and there's a lot of overlap between the 4 different forms of polyamory that I plan to discuss. Suffice it to say, everyone who practices polyamory does it in their own way, and their interpersonal connections are going to be as unique as the people in them. That said, I decided to narrow everything down to 4 major categories: the primary partner plus others approach, the group approach, the egalitarian network approach, and the solo approach. In the primary partner plus others approach, you are in one main relationship, and then you have other connections beyond that central relationship. For example, let's say that Olivia and Kana are married. They're primary partners. They own a house together. When holidays roll around, it's just a given that they're going to spend them together, most likely with their families of origin. Olivia and Kana probably link to each other on social media, and it's just a given that, of course, they would link to each other and not their other partners because they're primaries. And of course, if one of them took a job in another location, they would just move together. There's not really any question about that. Olivia and Kana have built a life together. Their lives are entwined, and they don't have any plans or any intention of ever doing that with anyone else. In this example, Olivia is also dating Rosa, and they really like each other. They might even be on the path to falling in love. Every week they go on a date together. That day is set aside just for them, and they have so much fun. They're happy with where their relationship is, and it's not just that, it's kind of by design. Olivia and Kana are primary partners, so Olivia and Rosa don't do those primary partner things. They don't automatically spend their family holidays together. They wouldn't automatically move together if someone took a job in another location. That doesn't mean they don't care about each other. It's just a different kind of relationship. In this example, Kana also has a girlfriend named Ava. They've been together for 3 years. They are totally in love. They're so cute together. Everyone sees them lasting for the long haul, but they're still not primary partners. They aren't getting married either. They're not going to live together. They're not going to have kids together. They're not going to do any of the things that Olivia and Kana have committed to doing with each other. In the group approach, a person might be engaged in a relationship with multiple people in the same relationship. So, for example, Olivia and Kana might be in a relationship together with Rosa. Now, to be clear, in this example, there are actually 4 relationships within this triad. The relationship between each individual person with each other individual person, as well as the group dynamic, the group relationship. A lot of the time when people hear the word polyamory, they think of these group relationships. Personally, I've actually never had or pursued a relationship like this, but they definitely happen. In the egalitarian network approach, no one relationship is centered as the main relationship in a person's life. That doesn't mean that none of the relationships reach the same level of commitment and involvement as, say, like a primary partnership, because they definitely do. It just means that no one relationship is considered the main one. The best way I've found to describe this kind of polyamory to people who aren't familiar with it is to compare it to platonic friendship. Most likely, even if you have 1 or 2 really close friendships already, you're able to go out and meet new people and develop really close long-term friendships with those new people as well. The fact that there are pre-existing close friendships doesn't preclude that with new people. So for people who approach polyamory in this egalitarian network way, approach romantic relationships no differently than the way I just described platonic friendship. So you could have an entire life built with someone, and that doesn't mean that you can't also have that with someone else. Using the people from our examples, Olivia and Kana are in a long-term serious relationship. Then Olivia is also in a long-term serious relationship with Rosa. And then Kana is in a long-term serious relationship with Ava. Maybe Ava is in long-term serious relationships with other people as well, and so on. Now, that doesn't mean that every single relationship in a network of relationships is exactly the same and has the exact same level of intimacy and commitment. That never happens. But it does mean that any relationship you have could reach that level if you guys decide that that's what you want. This is actually the approach to polyamory that I take. And I've often said that it wouldn't make sense for me to say that I'm in a polyamorous relationship because I don't have one central relationship that determines whether or not I'm polyamorous. I'm the one who has decided that I am going to approach relationships polyamorously, and I find partners who feel the same way about.
All right, that was a lot. We can maybe go back to that in a. Anybody have anything to add to that? Delete, subtract.
All right, for me, when looking at relationships, one of the very important things that I seem to come across people missing out on is defining what love is. And I say that and I go straight to love because first you need to understand that polyamory refers to having many loves, which doesn't necessarily mean having many sexual partners. So that needs to be understood. And I think as soon as people start talking about polyamorous relationships, they start to think along the lines of wife swapping or swinging or one of the other non-monogamous lifestyles, which are pretty much centered around sex. Polyamory is not necessarily centered around sex. It may not have anything to do with sex at all. And that is something that needs to be taken into consideration because we're talking about many loves. We have many loves, and people say you can't love more than one people at the same time, more than one person at the same time. But we do it every day. We have parents, we have
children,
other relatives, we have children, we have friends, and if these people are close to you, you love them. And people start drawing lines when it comes to love. No, it's a different kind. That's a different kind of love. That's not the same thing. You can't equate. Why can't you equate them? We're talking about love. We're not talking about what you do, how you express that love. We're talking about love.
Right.
The expression of that love is something else. And you're not going to express the love that you have for your partner the same way you express the love that you have for your parents or your child. There's a different expression of the same thing. So for me, when I look at polyamory, you have to look at it beyond the sexual. And once you start talking about relationships, the first thing generally that people find happening in our community is sex. This is the very first thing.
Yeah.
And when I first go ahead. Right.
I would say I think that's why a lot of people don't believe that you can have more than one partner or love more than one relationship at a time, because people look at those relationships as a sexual exchange. And you don't look at that relationship is not viewed when you're talking about your mother or your brother or your children. It's only with a sexual partner. So when you're talking about a sexual partner, nobody looks past the sex onto just the love. But you're right. You can love people equally and love them differently at the same time. I don't, like you said, I don't show love to my partner the same way I show it to my mother, but they're both on the same love field. I would still do for my mother just like I would do for my partner. I would bend over backwards for my mother. I would bend over backwards for my partner. You just don't express the love the same, but the level of love is always there. And I don't think most people understand that, because once sex gets involved, nothing else, it's like they don't see past anything else.
Right. One of the very unique things that I've come across with looking at polyamorous relationships is people in their older years. Now you have things like age-related illnesses start to set in, and people have lives. People go out and work and stuff. And the mere fact that someone else that cares about an individual can come in and show the same level of care and concern for that individual, that blew my mind when I first came across it. It made sense, but the fact that it can happen and people are living that way, that was like, this is not fairy tale. This is something real. And you look, when you really look at the community concept, that's exactly what it is. Back, Damien, old time Jamaica, everybody know everybody else. And if somebody in your house is sick, the neighbor will come over and help take care of that person because the main breadwinner had to go out to work or go for something. That's polyamory. Believe it or not.
Back to this whole thing, and if you're just joining us, guys, we are looking at this whole thing about monogamy, and we soon go a little bit deeper because Kevin mentioned that it is not that old, you know, contrary to what the make believe is. And again, guys, this came about sometime last week when I saw some photographs surface on my timeline, and I posted and I said, what would be your main reason for saying no to this lifestyle? So I'm going to read a couple of the comments, and we can build on them. So my friend Jackie Dosh, she was one of the first person to comment, and she said, I'll be honest, I can't do that at all. I would be so jealous and mean-spirited towards the guy and the other chick. I would try to be better than her in every area because I would want all of his attention. Besides, how would I benefit by him having two women? He gets tired of one woman and goes to the other, but we're both of us stuck with him. But both of us were stuck with him. So I always say this, and even like I said, I was on one of my bridging talk show yesterday evening, and I had one of my good sisters, and when I mentioned this, she's like, no, go so the part that I believe that, I don't know if I'm going to sound kind of off here, but I don't believe that black men, like Carla say, I don't know if her phone died because I messaged her or not, I'm not getting her, that I don't believe that men were created to be monogamous. That's my belief. And I use some simple stuff like, I remember my first bike, Kevin, where I saved to buy that. And it was part, I buy the frame first, then the wheel and add it. And I always say to myself, yo, I will never have a dull moment once I have my own bike and whatever. And after about 2 weeks, that it's set in to say, no, this is your bicycle. It never did feel special. Same thing with my first car. I used to say, oh, I'll never ever do it again. I would drive all the way to the grill and da-da-da-da. And when the first time I fill up the tank and it was like $2,000, I'm like, hell no. I am not going to pull up $2,000 and drive, gonna play. Yeah, days, because I lived in the town. Yeah, days that I park and just walk, go me off of camera. Like, no. So it's the same thing. I think men are like that, where it's kind of hard, and I'm not saying it's impossible. Carla alluded to it. I think too, even with monogamy, comes with maturity. Choice. I have a friend, but I will call him name now, but he was on my show back in Jamaica, and he was saying what brought him to say, listen, I'm done with all of the other women. He was in Portland for that weekend. He had his bona fide and whatever, but this girl that him know from whatever come check him. So they had sex and the condom broke. So the first thing that came with expense, because she said, listen, I need an emergency contraceptive. So I had to give her money for that. And then he was saying to himself, but then STI could be at play here. STD, all of the other stuff. So that was his reckoning to say, listen, I am just going to stick to this one person and this one person only. So that's why I'm saying I think maturity comes with it. But I'm not sure if I heard your take on that part, Dominique, where, you know, as male being not monogamous naturally.
Honestly, I would agree with that, but I would agree that most people are not naturally bred to be monogamous. And I'm gonna tell you why. Even in a relationship, and like Kevin said, Being monogamous is really not that old. Matter of fact, back in the 1860s, polygamy wasn't necessarily accepted, but it was publicly announced and practiced. It became illegal at one point in time. At one point in time, it came back again when they introduced same-sex marriage. Matter of fact, I think the state of Utah allowed polygamous relationships after they allowed same-sex marriages, because if it's constitutional for same-sex marriage, it's equally constitutional to engage in multiple marriages. The only stigma was that the state could not be involved, but you could practice polygamy.
Right.
So it's not as old as a lot of people think it is. But what's funny about polygamy is that most people don't know, in the comment that you made about the trust, and just like your the comment that you read, what would she get out of that? She would be so jealous. What most people don't know is when it comes to polygamy, even if you view it from a swinging standpoint, swinging relationships, if they work and they're functional, they actually come with a higher level of trust than any monogamous relationship most people could ever fathom to imagine, because it involves conversing. That's first of all. And most people do not have conversations. They don't communicate in relationships. So to be in a successful polygamous relationship, there is a level of trust and communication between those parties that a monogamous relationship most times can never touch.
Non-existent.
Exactly. And most people don't realize that it's a different level of acceptance. You have to know who you are to be successful in a polygamous relationship. You have to know what you're willing to accept. There are rules in those types of relationships. What type of partner do we bring home? Do we only bring men home? Do we only bring women home? Is it a free-for-all? Can everybody do what they want to do? But it involves a different level of communicating and acceptance and knowing who you are as a person, what you can and cannot deal with in a relationship, what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. And a lot of people really do not understand that. And I think that women are not as, I think women are more in love with the idea of being in love, which makes them appear to be monogamous more than men. But I think equally male and female, none of us were naturally bred to be monogamous. Even in a relationship, women are stimulated by other things that they see. You can be happy at home and see another person that's attractive, or you talk to somebody at work and they mentally stimulate you. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical stimulation. So your mind is always attracted to something else, whether it's a physical attraction or a mental attraction. Those attractions exist whether you're in a monogamous relationship or not. To say they don't is ridiculous. There are a lot of people who I don't understand. You can only have eyes for me when you're in a relationship. Me being in a relationship with you and loving you wholeheartedly doesn't make me blind. It doesn't mean that this person is not attractive. It doesn't. Exactly. That's not what that means. And if more people were willing to accept the truth about themselves, they will understand that they're not far from polygamy themselves, in all honesty. And as a matter of fact, one comment that stood out to me on that post was someone said, if you have multiple baby daddies, then you're already in a polygamous relationship. And a lot of people don't put those two together. But they're right. If you have multiple baby daddies or baby mamas, you are in a polygamous relationship.
Well, polyamorous.
Well, polyamorous, correct. Right.
Poly relationship.
Yes, I think I did like that comment from that person too. And I said over and over, like, I think a lot of people, and Carla was saying it, all three of you said it, that, you know, the whole thing about being truthful. But so a woman said this to me last night on my Virgin Live when I was saying, oh, I feel unrever. And she said, go and try that with your wife. Go and tell your wife. I'm like, how many men can actually say it straight up to them woman, even before they get married, to say, you know what? I don't think I want to just be with you and you alone. Or the lie you alluded to, Dominique, to say, oh, once it's you, I start wearing blinders. So I won't see anybody else at work and I won't find anybody attractive. Is it that society, they push this monogamous thing on us and also push this lie on us to say we're supposed to pretend to? So you can't go and express to your partner that, listen, you know, I was in the supermarket today and trust me, I saw somebody, and, you know, because once you do that, then you're going to erode trust. The other person is going to start thinking, okay, one day if you got the number, but him never did tell me that part. I think my phone is ready.
Pardon me for playing with my camera.
I see somebody calling me, but I'm not sure if you're calling to be a part of the show, and I'm live. I don't know.
Yeah. How you gonna work your magic
I agree
now?
with that. I don't think enough people are honest with themselves. And like I said, I really believe in women. More women are more in love with the idea of being in love and the perception of what that means, and the idea that they can parade around that they have this healthy, happy lifestyle with this great husband who's the perfect father. They're just in. I think the problem is most of us as little girls were read fairy time bedtime stories.
Yep.
All the Cinderellas of the world.
Mills and Boons and
we're sold on chivalry and
with the happily ever afters.
Yes, we're sold on happily ever afters. And it's not that you can't have one, but your happily ever after is not the same story that's going to be read in those fairy tales. Right. My happily ever after doesn't have to mirror yours. But the fact that all little girls are bred those same fairy tale stories, they grow up with that mindset that your knight in shining armor is going to come and save you, and it's going to be until the end of time. And I think that's why a lot of women can't accept the fact that men have a hard time being faithful or monogamous. And it's because that's how we were taught. We were taught that one relationship, she only meets, he's the only one she's ever had, but she's never the only one he's ever had.
Right.
I think it's socially acceptable, just like with sex. Time if you have a monogamous relationship and you talk about the number of sex partners you have, most men's numbers are in the hundreds or close to it. With a woman, if she says anything above a 20, it's how dare you? And I think it's just the social acceptance. And that was one of the comments that I made. I'm fine with the polygamous relationship or the poly relationship, but why is that not acceptable for women to have multiple husbands or multiple spouses or multiple relationships? Why is it only-
is it that it's not allowed, or it is one of the truth that is not being told? Because I said this to somebody on another post yesterday. A couple of years ago, Kevin, I'm not sure if you knew of it, but there's this procedure, I think they cut it out, I'm not sure, where when you're petitioning for your children in another country, the US Embassy requires or requests a DNA test. And the US Embassy in Jamaica published that 35% of their applicants fail the DNA test. 35%. So my thing is it that, I remember that. Yeah. So my thing is, when I hear people talk and they talk about men cheat more than women, and I'm like, oh, you do that maths. Because 35%, and that is just those who apply, you know. And I'm thinking, those who apply is not majority of Jamaicans petition for them kids. So majority live in the country. And if that number is so high, 35%, that means that a lot more Jamaicans, or jacket as we call them, don't get the biological father more than. But back to the truthful thing. So most women will come and they will say, no, I want a man for myself. But they know that they're not being monogamous. And I don't even want to bring in the economical, the financial aspect of it, where, you know, she may be with Kevin, but Kevin can't help with the 3 pitney them I meet her with. So maybe she's still having sex with the previous baby fathers, or some other man will see her like her, maybe even her boss at the workplace.
It's the mental double standard. But you're right. Out of all the female friends I have, I don't know one female that at one point in time has not cheated on a significant other. So, and just like the idea that when
like that, say that again. Can me tell them something get cussing? Can you please repeat that?
What was that? I'm serious. I don't know one female that has not cheated on. I don't know one female that has not cheated on at some point in time a significant other. And when we were talking about all the functionalities of a relationship, women tend, just like you made the comment about the fathers, you know how many children have no idea who their fathers are because they grew up in a household with mom and dad. Mom and dad have always been together, but the child actually does not belong to dad because mama had fun with her girlfriends one night and never told dad about this kid that wasn't his. A lot of kids that are growing up in dual family households. You have the husband, you have the wife there, the father and the mother, but the father's not the biological father. So it's the mental double standard. Women are not monogamous. Women, like I said, they're in love with the idea of being in love, and that makes them want to be monogamous. They want that knight in shining armor story, and that comes with monogamy. but they don't practice it behind closed doors. So when we talked about what was trending and women deciding to be bisexual now because it's trending, I also believe that that's a big part of it as well. Women are having these other relationships. It's trendy to do that. Women step out all the time. Women are very sneaky at it. Women are very good at it. They do that. And like I said, I don't know one female that has been completely monogamous her entire life. Not one.
Well, I can tell you, it's the first I hear a female actually admitting that, because these are the things that I get cussed out from, you know, on Facebook all the time. That no, because if I say something like that, people. So my friend was calling to be a part of the show, so please call me back, my dear. But let me go ahead and read. I don't know what's happening with Kevin thing. I'm still hoping that that Carla jumps back in before we end the show too. But I picked up a lot of jealousy in this. Let me read this one. Sharona says, if I was brought up in that culture, it would be acceptable, but jealousy done in a me already. When it comes to man, so me can't go bear that. My head I go hurt me. And Dominique said, would it be equally acceptable if a woman had two husbands? And I'm not even going down that road with her. My friend Dan said, KMT, I can't even manage this one. And we had a long discussion after that. Shannon Ellis says, must when me dead, me so jealous and fool. My head sick. Me couldn't do that no way. Drew says, if you got multiple baby, that's the comment you alluded to earlier, Dominique. If you have multiple baby mamas or daddies, polygamous by default. Yeah. So I picked up a lot of women admitting it to say, because of the jealousy.
See, that's society. That's women saying what they're supposed to say, not saying what they actually and truly feel. Women are, I will tell anybody this. Women are very manipulative. Women are sneaky. Women plan, and we pretty much plan almost every moment of our day. It may not go the way we plan it, but women have ulterior motives all day long. There's not a moment in a woman's day that she is not plotting, scamming, scheming, and it doesn't have to have a negative effect. It doesn't have to be with vicious intent or ill intent. They could be actual positive outcomes, but women plan. So the idea that women are saying that, oftentimes those are women making comments on what is socially acceptable.
Accepted, yes.
They're in relationships. They can't sit up here and say that that's not okay. They're in a relationship. They have to play the part. But I'm telling you, women are just as sneaky as men. And so for the women, like if you have women that decide that they want to lesbian today because they're tired of men. I have seen so many women who decide that they no longer want to date men. Men are dogs. Men can't stay faithful. And I'm like, I don't know a woman that's faithful. So what's the difference? So you've decided to go from an unfaithful man to an unfaithful woman. I'm not understanding that concept. Women are just as sneaky, just as low down as men are. Women are just as doggish as men are. And I don't know why we're not willing to say that, but we are.
Thank you very much.
On one of the posts, I don't even remember her name, Damien. We were going back and forth, and I mentioned that, well, women are not really different. Just like you were saying, Dominique, women are not really different from men. It's just that the women talk less.
Yes.
So, because man,
and it's part of society, men have a tendency to share stories. Kevin, but Dominique said this: if you talk to most men, which I'm not in the most men category, I don't think I pass. Let me not say a number, but me not reach 100. I'm sure. If a male say, "Yo, listen, I've had 100 sex partner," like you will be revered. Like, yes, you would, you know. But if a woman, which I've never heard this either, Dominique, I've yet to meet a female that I ask how many sexual partner them have, and I hear more than 3.
And you're never going to hear more than 3. Women are conditioned to give you that number because it doesn't make them look
bad. So they talk about, my
relationship.
It's just like that age. It's just like that age, Damien. They never get past 21.
You know what? So, there was a saying that says if you ask anybody how many partners they have, whatever answer a man gives you, divide by 3. Divided by 3, and whatever woman gives you, multiply it by 3.
Oh, so they're saying men lie. Okay.
Both of them lie, but women lie down, men lie up.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. You know, and I have friends who say, oh, they don't want the sex count to go above more than they can count on their hand. But I stopped asking. I used to do this my late teenage years, early, because I knew I was supposed to do a show like this long before I even started doing it. But I would meet somebody and just talking to them randomly, and that is a question I would ask, like, you know, many sexual partner, and it never ever passed 3. So I think they compartmentalize it and they say, okay, I didn't have a relationship with that person. So although we had sex, it was not going to get counted in that had sex.
It doesn't count.
Because but answer me this. If more women more men are not proposing, so women are not getting married. So there are less marriages now than there were 50 years ago. So people are not marrying like they used to be. So if you're 40 years old and you've never been married, what woman 40 years old has only had 3 partners since high school? Let's just be real.
The one in the convent.
Yep. Sister. Yep. You know, but I had to bring myself past to say stop because I felt like I was forcing people to lie. And I'm like, you know, let me stop. Let me stop asking people these questions. Because but part of what I was saying is the acceptance. So society, even women, because I see it over and over. I said this several times on my show. When this old camera thing started in the 2000s in Jamaica, and they start circulate photos with a woman performing fellatio or whatever it is, most of the time when I get it in my inbox, is a woman send it to me. Females send them to me, you know, and I'm like, why is it easy to try to embarrass somebody? At one point, I said to one of them, if this was you, would you want people to be sending it off, you know, sharing it? And they said, no, but I don't know. But the acceptance. So females you can't say more than 3 because even other females will look down on you and say, oh, no, she's a bitch. Like, how can you have 6 partners, 10? No, you. But yeah. What is accepted? But the men, the same females, I've seen this. I don't remember the name of the movie, but was it with Will Smith where it was Will? I'm not sure. But his sister friend wanted to have sex with him, and she was warning her friend to say no, he's a dog, and all the bad things that she was telling her friend not to sleep with her brother. Those are the things she wanted to hear because she had a thing for him. And I think that's normal to where females tend to, even if they don't date a man or full time, they want the experience. What you say about Dominique?
I think that a lot of that comes from pressures of society, and not to say that women are victims, because I do not believe that women are victims, but we play victim. And I think a lot of that is pressure to fit in, pressure to outdo their girlfriends. Women in most female group relationships, it's very competitive. One's always trying to outdo the other. Someone's got to have the better husband, the better lifestyle, the better money. And I think a lot of that is societal pressure to just want to fit in or want to be a part of the conversation or want to be trendy. And I think that's what a lot of it is. I don't think most women know what they want sexually. I don't think enough women have explored themselves or I guess their own thought processes to know what they want individually.
What's about that, Kevin?
You mentioned, Dominique mentioned something for another time now. I don't even know how many times she has mentioned it. The jealousy aspect. And
that came up on the comment. A lot of females comment and say, oh, they're jealous, so they couldn't do this and they couldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if any of them ever ask themselves why it is that I'm jealous. Because a big part of jealousy comes from measuring up, comparing self with.
And insecurity.
So, competition.
But that's what it is. Yeah.
Yes, women are competitive.
You mentioned it a few times now. But the jealousy comes when they see themselves, when an individual will see themselves as not measuring up.
Right.
So okay, my partner is talking to this guy and they look like they're getting along well, but society says I should be jealous because no man is supposed to have my woman smiling bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So now I start to question, what is it that this man has that I don't have? What is it because he drives a newer car than me? And it happens on both sides. Both the men and the women do this.
Mm-hmm.
For me, personally, I see it as coming from a place of not understanding self. So I come back to this. I said it at the beginning, I'll say it again.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing and understanding self.
Who you are,
what
right?
You bring to the table,
right?
Is
no one can take
what
that
you
from
bring
you.
to the table, and your partner wants to be with you because of who you are. Now, it may be that partner may be only getting a piece of who you are, but your partner already lock on to that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there's something that is making your partner smile that much bigger, and this is where the people that practice polyamory, I see where they all have this in common. I think called a couple of things. One of them is called compersion. And that is a word that you don't readily find in the English language being used. But the whole idea that someone else can make my partner smile or make my partner happy, and then they come to where I am, or they leave that place with me, and I feel good that my partner is happy, that is not something that people do on a regular. Nobody is supposed to.
You know, it's interesting that, Kevin, because I know of cases where men are married or they're in a relationship, but because the woman suspect them of cheating, they do a thing that they call, Dominique, lock shop. I don't know if that term is used in America.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, when you hold out on sex from your partner, they call it lock shop. So you lock shop.
Really? See, now women do that in America too, and I've never I didn't know that there was a term for. I just know women do that.
Well, Jamaican, we have a term for everything in Jamaica.
Oh, see, we just call it P punishment.
Call it what?
P punishment.
P punishment. Oh, okay.
Why punishment?
So men will go out and they will meet another woman, and they mention that to say, listen, I'm being on P punishment for some good 6 months, 7 months, whatever. And I never ever get that where how a woman is going to punish her man and don't expect him to go out.
You know what? I have said the same thing, and I think that goes back to women not knowing themselves as well, or not exploring themselves sexually. Because for me, there is no way in hell I'm holding back sex for my husband because I want to have sex. So me punishing him is punishing myself too. Women who are comfortable with sex from a relationship don't understand what sex really means in a relationship, or they don't know themselves, or they're not accepting of what that is. But I think that's a problem, and I don't understand how women can be okay with withholding sex from their spouse, because it's not withholding from that spouse, it's withholding from yourself. And I never understood that, and especially for people who practice religion, because according to the Bible, once you get married, your body no longer belongs to you, it belongs to your spouse.
You don't have authority over it.
Back. I just never understood that concept, but a lot of women do that, and I think a lot of it is because women don't enjoy sex the way men do, because men explore sex. Women, like I say, women like to play victim, but I do believe that the first encounter most women had with sex was under some form of pressure, from your friends or from the guy that you're dating, who he's the football star. He want, you love me, you got to do this for me.
Do that.
I do believe that. At the same time, I think that that's a problem, and I think that's why women don't explore sex the way men do, and so women don't enjoy sex the way men do. So it's easy for them to withhold because they don't enjoy it as much anyway. And the ones who do enjoy sex, oftentimes they don't communicate with their spouses. I know women now, and this goes back to the whole not just being men that are not bred to be monogamous. I know women now who have been married for 20, 30 years to their spouses. Those women are bored at home because they've been sleeping with the same man for 20 or 30 years. And want to do something different. And it's not, what they don't understand is it's not necessarily about you doing something different, but you have been attracted to something else through that entire time, but you held that back because you're in this monogamous relationship. You haven't expressed yourself to not just to you, but to your partner either. So you get to a point where you've either done everything you can do with your partner and now there's nothing else new to do. So sex is just a mundane activity, or you haven't expressed yourself with your partner. So you haven't been able to do the things with him that you want to do. So you're suppressing that. But I think it's because women have not explored sex the way they should. And I think that's why it's easy for them to hold sex from their spouses.
I think part of it too is, which we started at the beginning of the show with it, like, and Kevin said it, most of what people think they even know or like is something that was taught to them or showed to them or introduced in some way or form. So part of it is, and when I talk a lot of times, you know, I get in trouble. This lady on one of my posts, Kevin, I think Dominique is on there to where a post about best to date is Taurus. And this one woman said, no, she will never date a Taurus man because they're mean. So I said, no, you have to deserve. We're not just going to give you whatever. And it go down the road. And I said something, and she didn't respond to it. She's like, oh, them never have money yet. And I said, but we don't believe in prostitution. Because if I'm going to have sex with a woman, it's not, the last thing I would want to think is because of my money, why she's doing it. I would feel like, yo, that's just, it's better if I go to a titty bar or one of those places and straight up. So
but
I said,
you know what's funny, David? She should be more offended by that than you are.
You know, that right there, Dominique.
I'm just saying.
Right
if you're offended by it, she ought to be too.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know, but so I dropped it on her and I said, listen, we don't believe in prostitution. So she said, no, it's not about. So what else she could be talking about? But like I said, we learn things based on what society say we're supposed to like and not like. So to the point I'm trying to make now is, women have been you used the word earlier, manipulative, and they use sex like a reward. So you have a little dog and he does something good, you throw a little treat. Women have been weaponizing, that's the term I'm looking for, sex. So you have men who actually fall for it and believe it. Like, this is what. So if I be a good kid, it's like in the classroom. You be a good kid and teacher give you a little candy or whatever and stuff like yeah, but me I say, as Dominique say, like, but something else too. A lot of times you have people who, and this is the part that I hate, you have people who don't know each other and get married. And it's after they're in the marriage, that's when they realize that, okay, all right, no. And I always say this when I want people to stone me. 3 things changes a woman, but it changes man too. But I want people to stone me now, so I'm going to say sex, marriage, and pregnancy. After those 3 things, a woman, that is when she unleash and say, well, you have to just accept me because I gave you my body. You're now married to me and I have no way I go. And I'm having your child. Sometimes it come in different order. But the sex part, like, I think if a woman is withholding sex, obviously she never did supposed to be in a relationship with that man. And as Dominique said, she knows from herself.
Because even when I was married, even when I was upset with my husband, it's just a rule. We do not hold back sex. I can be mad as all get out, but if you want to have sex, we're just gonna have mad sex tonight. That's just how it's gonna be. But
it's funny you should say that too.
But I'm serious. We're just gonna have mad sex tonight. I can be mad all I want, but trust me, before the night's over, you're not gonna be mad anymore. So just go ahead and get it over with.
Right.
What's funny about that is what you said about men going out and finding something else. I've always said whatever you can't get at home, you're gonna find it out in the streets, because there are a million people in the streets that's willing to give you what you can't get at home. So the women who are holding sex, I don't believe that gives anybody, whether it's a man or a woman that's withholding sex, I don't believe that gives you the right to go step out. But I also agree that if you're withholding sex, and even if you're not withholding, but let's say you're withholding, you meet a guy when y'all are dating, you're having sex like rabbits, you're doing it 3 or 4 times a week, all of a sudden you get married and now it's reduced to once a week, once a month. And your spouse is coming and telling you, hey, we're not doing this. Hey, why are we not having sex this? Why are we not doing this? Why does it always have to be scheduled? Why do you always have a headache? If he's asking you, he's trying to communicate with you and letting you know that something is missing. And if you refuse to give him what's missing, even though it doesn't justify his act of cheating, you have to acknowledge the role you played in that. and that you push that person to that, because every action has a reaction.
And let me add to that you say
your role in that.
I'm a Bible person, grew up in the church. It is in Corinthians. I need to find it. I can write it down. If a woman withholds sex and the man go out and cheat, the sin is on her shoulder. That is in the Bible. So, but
cause and effect.
They won't preach apart. Let me get this comment in here. Miss Knight says, I don't want to have sex if I'm not mentally happy. So I'm not pushing me for sure. And punishing me for sure. And I'm not punishing the man. I'm just not mentally capable of making love if I'm hurting.
I don't understand that, because love, when you love somebody, being upset with them today over disagreement doesn't change that. Me and my mom have disagreements all the time. It has never altered the level of love I have for her. And that would be no different from your children. Your children do stupid stuff all the time. They get in trouble. They get brought home by the police. They get in trouble at school. It doesn't alter your level of love for them. Your child can go outside and rob a bank tomorrow. It doesn't mean you're not going to post his bail because he got locked up. So why do you withhold sex from your husband if you don't treat anybody else like that? Your level of love does not change because you're mad right now. And women need to get over that shit.
Yeah.
Pardon my French.
No, that's all right. Because I see you're saying something, Kevin. No, them something here you see me get cussed out for. When me say them kind of something here, them take me on and cuss me. But like I say again, I think that is
you and me both, DP.
Females and Dominique, I've told women this before. The same price or whatever you put on your vagina, I put it on my penis. So don't think you're granting me a favor if you give me some coochie. No. Okay. No, I told women that straight up. You're not granting me a favor. If you don't like me enough or want to share your body with me, that no. So if you, I mean, I don't know. I'm married to I'm the one now crying cream most of the time to say no. My wife is like, okay, whenever you're ready. I don't know. I always wonder how a man is living with a woman, which, as you alluded to earlier, Dominique, 5 nights of the week she have a headache. She don't, and that is an excuse.
You know what? For that woman, you come home from work and you give her a Tylenol right now. And when she asks you what's this for is for your headache. Give it a couple hours to kick in. Let's go for it.
Yeah, I like that. You hear that, guys? If you're experiencing that,
take away the excuse. Come home from work with a Tylenol, and when for your headache later. So I want to hear that later on.
So if you guys just joining, we're looking at this whole thing of monogamy, and I'm asking if it's natural. Well, I was asking that on the thing, but I did some research, and this was interesting I found it interesting when Kevin alluded to it, because I just type in, and what came up from CNN Health: why did we become monogamous? And this is by Maria, whatever her name is, from CNN, and this was published 2016. And it says here, humans are now mostly monogamous, but this has been the norm for just past 1,000 years. So, as you said, Kevin, I don't know if you wanted to build on that, because I said at the top of the show, it's not that old. So why it seems as if monogamy is the thing that's supposed to, nothing else, for most people or for society?
Because of the business of relationships. Remember now, the structure of marriage was to make sure that unit was a stable unit relating to the sustaining of that family unit. Now, it is interesting that is the concept when you are stronger in numbers. So I don't quite know how the two really work. You're stronger in numbers, but when it comes to a man and woman relationship, it must just be the two of you. So marriage now, the institute of marriage, as we know it, the monogamous relationship, was kind of to not put so much of a financial burden on one person. Kind of a deal.
Yeah.
And with how society is structured, with the man being the head of the household, typically what we would find when you have a multiple partner relationship is that there's a one man and then multiple women. However, when you look at polyandry, you know that it's the flip, it's the reverse. It is one woman, and multiple men. The love thing still remains.
Right.
You have love for more than one person. But yeah, it comes back to the business of relationships and the financial aspect of it when it comes to monogamy and marriages as we know it, because the two kind of go hand in hand. Monogamy and marriage as we know it.
Something else that I saw in the article from CNN, they suggest that monogamy would have therefore given males an advantage when producing offspring. The team also stressed that STDs would have been a form of punishment for those who were polygamous. So I posted this the other day too, and a few people actually comment. So now I'm thinking, did they create STD to punish people who are polygamous?
There's that possibility, that there's that argument too. But something what Dominique said earlier, which I was going to say, and I'm so glad that somebody else said it.
Yes.
When you're talking about a non-monogamous relationship, the level of communication is far superior than that which you find in a monogamous relationship. So the parties agreeing to be in a multi-partner relationship. If here's a discussion that is seldom had in monogamous relationships. Let's go get tested. In polyamorous or non-monogamous relationships, that is almost like asking, where do you live?
Yeah.
Because there's that level of openness and communication. People that practice monogamy have so much that they can learn from people that practice non-monogamy. And they're just the fundamentals of relationships. And it doesn't have to be a sexual relationship either.
Right.
But it's just being open and honest with each other. This is something that I had to learn only in my adulthood. And reconditioning my mind and getting to know and accepting who I am was pretty much the most difficult thing I have had to do in my life. The second most difficult thing was expressing that to my better portion. And since then, the levels of communication have been phenomenal. Another thing that often is missing from a lot of relationships is, let's go talk to someone. That therapy aspect. Especially in the Caribbean community. I don't know many Jamaicans that I could say,
waste of money.
Hey, listen, I'm going to go see my therapist. I have a standing appointment. The first response is usually, wait,
something wrong with you? Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
you crazy.
Yeah. And it's not,
Like that
are
in the
you
Black
crazy that
community
you're
as
going to
well.
a therapist?
Yeah, therapy is
Are you
frowned upon.
crazy? Yeah. But it is what is missing from our society today. The sitting down and even if it's not a therapist, the sitting together and being honest about what is going on with you, with whether your best friend, your mother, your father, your pastor, your partner, whomever.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that, Kevin, because a couple of nights ago, maybe months now, I did a topic from Tell Me Pastor, the tabloids in Jamaica. And this young lady, she was married. Her husband, father, is an elder in the church or whatever. She was having issues with her husband, and she went to talk to her father-in-law, right? And the first question he asked, how is the bedroom? And every female on the show that night was saying the father-in-law was out of order. He should have never asked such a question. I'm like, why not? Chances are this man, the same thing happened with his son and his mother. Maybe at one point things wasn't right. So when she come complaining that he's not coming home, all of that, the first question was, so one of my friends, she was saying, Denise, she said, no, somebody else can ask that question, but not the father-in-law, and she would feel uncomfortable talking to. But why did they do this, or how that happened to us, Kevin, where even parents, I said this over and over, my father is deceased now 4 years. I've never had a sexuality talk with my dad. Never. Never.
You and me both. You and me both.
It's just, it don't happen.
And I don't know if it's a black man thing, if it's a Caribbean thing, if it's a Jamaican thing. I don't know what kind of thing.
And let me add, it's not like my father wasn't in my life. He didn't live in my house, but why would that was the case? I don't know. But the honesty and the frank and
these, in my opinion, are some of the things that are missing from the foundation of relationships. And with that aspect of it being missing, when you get into adulthood, we start doing relationships wrong.
Yes.
And it's not to say wrong as in, you get the wagging of the finger. Wrong as in, we don't look at the complete self and how we relate to each other. And I wish Carla was here, because as a life coach, these are some of the things that we would expect that she would be imparting on individuals as they communicate with each other. I
won't die because I sent her a message and it's not even read. So
yeah, I did a social psychology certificate course a few months ago, and these are some of the things that you look at. How it is that we relate to each other. Why is it that you can see somebody doing something to an individual and just walk by them when you know that you wouldn't want someone to walk by when it's the same thing?
You're in that position.
We really don't relate well to each other, and it's because we have developed this self-centered way of thinking and living. People that practice non-monogamy are quite selfless. And the mere fact that, okay, so 3 of us are right now on this broadcast. Dominique and I are in a relationship. We're partners. Dominique goes out with you, and she comes home to me, and she's just bouncing. One of two things can happen. I can take the traditional, as we know it, approach and get upset and throw a pot and pan or fist or whatever. Or I could really revel in that joy that she's coming home with, because now she's coming home happy. One less thing for me to do is to contribute to that happiness. Now we get to both revel in that happiness.
I'm glad you got here.
I've told that same story just with a different twist. It's like the guy who goes out to the strip club and the girl who doesn't understand why. So why do you have a problem with that? He's just getting excited. So now that he comes home, he's ready to go. What's the problem with that? You didn't have to get him ready. He's already ready already.
He's already ready already. Yeah. So both of you did that, because I've been told this by people, both males and females, that they're in a committed relationship, and after a while it becomes monotonous. Yeah, that's the word, not monogamous, monotonous. And they meet somebody, it may not even be physical, because now we have the internet and thing, and somebody just give them a compliment or something, and that just rejuvenate a kind of vibe. So females told me straight up that, listen, I had dormancy in my sex life, and I meet somebody else, and yes, they actually got sexual, but it's spillover, as you mentioned, Kevin. So she's happier now with her partner that she lives with, because she got some excitement somewhere else. Is that those are some of the things that people don't talk about, or it's too taboo, or it's just my friend, it's ungodly and unethical I don't know if that's what she was related to, but I wanted to use that.
Unethical and evil.
Yeah. Unethical and evil.
Here's the thing. People don't talk about it. Remember I mentioned that word earlier, compersion?
Yes, you did.
You say that to, you walk down the street and you pick 10 people and you ask them if they know what compersion is.
The
Probably
first time I heard it was
one will say yes. Say that again?
I said the first time I heard it was the first time you mentioned it.
Tonight?
Yes.
See? There we go. I did a whole broadcast on it. And these are the things. Now, it seems far-fetched and out there, but it's actually something that we have been doing in our regular lives all along. Because Damien, you and I go way back. Cadillac seats don't go back as far as you and I go. You and I do basically the same thing. We're broadcasters. And I will go ahead and say to some people, yo, you need to check out this show on Facebook, my brethren doing it, and you will do the same thing. And you will get an award or something, and I'll be happy for you. That is compersion. You get a raise, and I'm happy for you. You get a raise at your job or a promotion, and I'm happy for you. That is compersion. So, in our relationships, when our partners go out and get happy because they meet somebody and they want to carry them out on a date or something, and they feel good about themselves, why you can't feel good about that? Them having that joy too. And people that practice non-monogamy have been able to have this as a part of their relationship and as a part of their lives. So what you find is, not to say that monogamous people are miserable, and not to say that non-monogamous people don't get jealous. They get jealous too. It's just that they process it differently. And what they do is they sit down and they talk to their partners about and they express what it is that is going on. And even they do that introspection and say, hey, you know what? I am looking at this person and belittling myself because of. But this person cannot do this like me. They forget about that aspect. You might be able to do 9 out of 10 things, and this one person can do this one thing that you can't do. And you're going to be jealous of them. For what? Come back to the
Dominique, you think religion have something to do with this? Because I listened to Kevin a while ago and that thought process going. Because part of it is said that if you're married and you have sex, you're sinning. You're committing adultery. You think that weighs in on the whole, thought process to have people thinking you can't go out of the norm and just stick with it? It goes hand in hand somewhat.
I think if you're religious, it should. But what I find funny about that is most religious people pick and choose what they choose to be religious about, or pick and choose what parts of the Bible they want to follow, or the word they want to follow. So for you to say that, bringing somebody else into the relationship sexually is a sin, but you're committing other sins. In the Lord's eyes, one sin is no greater than another. And even if you think the thought of bringing somebody else into a relationship, that it in itself is a sin.
That's what the Bible says. The thought
is a sin. So just because you don't act on it doesn't take away from that sin. And if you're engaging in other sins, how do you compare one sin to another? Because in the Lord's eyes, there is no difference in levels of sin. You sin or you don't. But what's funny about that is I think people use society's, I guess, tools of society to accept the things that they're supposed to accept or condemn the things that they're supposed to accept. And I think that's a big part of it. People condemn non-monogamous relationships because they're supposed to condemn it. They're not supposed to accept it. But more people think of it privately than practice it openly. And a lot of people practice it privately that you'll never know that they practice it openly. Most people are not monogamous. That's just a fact.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You know, once in my earlier years, this was though, and again, thinking when Kevin was talking, that big word, or the word again?
Which one? Compersion?
Compersion. I had a girlfriend that told me that she felt like she was losing me, but she was at a point where she actually wrote a letter that she's comfortable in sharing. And I said that against the backdrop that if people are in a relationship and they have the inkling of somebody else, if they want to leave the person, they're going to leave. But I've seen cases where even women, they know that, and man, they know that maybe the person is seeing somebody else, but because the connection that they feel, they don't want to lose them. So is this an excuse to that some people will jump at, even with marriage? We see it a lot because, you know, there's the financial part of it. A wife catch her husband committing adultery, then she go and she take him to court and she get half of what him have. So she never want to have sex with him anyway. Most of the night, them are either hurt her. So that's what I'm saying. Is it that?
And them not have time now.
And them not a time. They don't have any title. So are you guys you ever hear of anything like that? Somebody want to hold on to the person even with the fact that the person is seeing somebody else?
It's that ownership, that possessive thing that we have. I don't know if it's really a natural thing or it's a learned thing. When we look at our relationships, you notice we always talk about my husband and my partner and my
ownership to it.
That ownership aspect, and we do it for everything. In reality, though, how many of us own our partners?
We don't own nothing.
Right.
None. So if that individual decide that they want to go somewhere and do something else with someone else, you don't own them. You can't really stop them. You cannot control what they can do, but you can control what you can do and how you can react to what they have done or what they are doing. And I don't know how many times we're going to emphasize this. Communication in a relationship is top of the list. Top of the list. And it don't really matter what kind of relationship you want to have. It's mother, daughter, picnic, parent, child, spouse, neighbor, friend down the road, whatever. Communication. And it's something that is missing from our relationships. Monogamous relationships fail. When you check it out, people say it's because of money. People say it's because the fire died. New relationship energy is one of the most splendiferous things you can ever experience. But all new relationships become old relationships. So finding ways to spice up or reignite your current relationship, well, that's for individuals to discuss and explore. So again, communication missing. Monogamous relationship especially missing, because your partner is supposed to know what you're thinking, supposed to know who you are, what you like, what you don't like,
and also supposed to just accept. Supposed to just accept, because you're married now, you just accept it. So Dominique alluded to it, where the guy is saying, oh, we're not doing this anymore, whatever, and you're like, you're supposed to, if we don't do it, then just accept it, because you're my husband. You're supposed to just stick with it. You wanted to come in a while ago, Dominique. I want to hear
about the communication. I think the problem with the communication that's missing in a relationship is you can't have communication without accountability. How do you communicate to your partner what you like, what you don't like? If you don't know yourself, you're not accountable for who you are. So oftentimes when women stay in relationships, or anyone stays in a relationship where they know their partner is with somebody else or seeing somebody else, they're either playing victim, and oftentimes that's going to be women who like to play victim. Or there's a lack of accountability. Whether it's you don't want to start all over, you don't want to put forth the effort to look for another relationship. You don't want to be alone. You don't want to have to address who you are. You don't want to have to address the role that maybe you played in the demise of that relationship. I think a lot of it goes back to accountability and being able to know who you are. As an individual, I know who I am. I know who I am as an individual, and I know what I bring to a table in a relationship. So at any point in time, if that relationship no longer serves, I guess, the relationship purpose, or we've decided we've grown in different ways, or we no longer view life the same way, we've decided that we want to part ways. I can love you to death and be comfortable with ending that relationship because I know who I am. Right. I know what I've done in this relationship. I know what I brought to the table, and I know what I am without you. So you being here is a benefit in my life. Not, I always tell people, I don't want to be needed. I want to be wanted. There is a difference.
I try to explain to people.
And go away when someone else satisfies it. So if you're in a relationship that is because you benefit financially, there's a need for money. Well, if you happen to win the lottery, you no longer need this person for their money. So I don't want to be needed. I want to be wanted, but you have to be accountable for yourself to know what you want and be able to communicate that to somebody else. And people are not accountable for themselves.
That's so true.
I love that, Dominique. You should make a meme out of it. I'd share it.
Now I say these things a lot, and like I said, I try to explain it that no, if you need me, that means I'm fulfilling something that you're not capable of on your own. Then that is not nice. That's why my brethren sing the song Miss Independent. A lot of men know, and I hear women say, oh, men mean and men whatever. But when you take up, and Dominique, you will understand this, Kevin will. In Jamaica, it's a norm where a man will take up a girl just leaving high school, 18, 19, and end up doing every single thing that her parents did not do. One is sending her to college. So she stays in the relationship until she finished teacher's college or nursing school or whatever. And then you hear, oh, he was abusive and he this and he that and he had a bunch of women and he's a woman. All the excuses come right after she finished taking advantage of this man to say, and I'm like, no, I don't want to be you. No, if I'm a need in your life, though, don't tell me that you need me either. No, you want me. Total different ballgame.
It's just like the people. Sorry, Dominique. It's just like the people that go to church and say they come to get their blessing. So they don't bring nothing to get a blessing. You're supposed you come with your blessing.
Yes. So true.
So people go into relationships and they say they don't make me happy anymore. What?
Or the women who marry wallets but get mad at where he deposits his penis at night. I'm like, but you didn't marry him for that. You married him for his wallet. So what he does with his penis. I'm not understanding this concept. That's not why you married him.
Right. Yep.
Know yourself. Know your worth. Know yourself. But definitely know yourself. Take the time out to figure out who you are, and understand too, when you get into relationships, people, that relationship that is 10 years old, in year 1, it should not be the same in year 10. Because if there's no change, that relationship dead. Anything that does not change is dead.
Yeah, stagnant.
There's no growth. Stagnant. Stagnant water is dead water.
Wrapping up.
It's dead.
You think if more people now starting to be honest, we'll have more divorce? With this whole sexuality and whether it's monogamy or poly?
If they become more honest, if they'll have more divorce?
Yes.
They'll have more divorce? I don't think so.
You don't?
I think people are divorcing now more over lies than honesty. I think if we had more honesty, there would be less marriage and you wouldn't have to worry about the divorce rate.
That's so like what I used to tell people in my teenage years. I've had rape say yes, they can't say, but that's a different topic. So Dominique is saying would have had less marriages. Would have had less marriages, so we wouldn't have to worry about the divorce part of it.
Yeah,
But I
because
think
statistics prove that
I think the
100% of
societal
divorces
norm,
happen, right?
because
If you think about it, when people get divorced, what do they always say? They change. That person probably did not change, but because you didn't walk into that relationship with open honesty and communication, people walk into relationships looking at the beautiful aspect of everything. They want to see all the birds and the butterflies and the lovey-dovey feelings and the emotional attachment and the great vibes. That's all fun. That's all fun and games. But when you get stuck in those moments, when you're only with somebody for the joy that they bring you or the positive things that they bring into your life, and you haven't really gotten to know that person, or you haven't been your complete honest self, at some point in time, life happens to us all. And when life happens, that's when the true you surfaces. When you're put into a predicament where you have to get yourself out of a hole, or when you're backed up against the wall, your true nature tends to come out in those moments. So if you have a relationship with somebody who life has always worked out for the good and nobody has ever had to be their honest selves, once life happens, now that honesty kicks in. Now you realize that they don't handle life altercations the way you do. They don't attack obstacles the way you do. And you start to think that that person changed. That person didn't change. You're just seeing a different aspect of them that you were blinded by before with all the beautiful stories of the relationship, all the butterflies of the relationship. And people are not being honest in the beginning, and they're getting stuck in those moments, and they think those relationships are supposed to stay those butterfly moments every single day. And it's okay to not have those moments, but it doesn't alter the love you have for that individual or multiple individuals if you're in a non-monogamous relationship. And people haven't grasped that concept, but it goes back to being accountable for yourself and bringing yourself to the table and expecting that from people that you meet.
I hear mention of honest, and I see my friend Miss Knight here. She say if all are honest, the relationship will be stronger. Is it that honesty means something different for males than it does for females?
On the surface, yes.
Okay. Because I hear women say, "Oh, what I want is honesty," and okay, so
women, I'm gonna tell you what, women are a different kind of honest, and I think men and women alike are honest. People say, okay, if you ask me what I did today, I could say I went to the grocery store, and that could be true. But if I also went to somebody else's house and had sex with them and not you knowing, it's not that I lied to you, but I didn't tell an entire truth. So it's a different version of the lie. It's not a literal lie. It's physically not a lie.
It's an alternate truth.
It's a way of being dishonest.
Kevin's alternate truth. No, but the reason why I asked that is because, like I say, I've heard this. Not me, because I don't deal with these things. I have other problems. But I've heard women keep on saying he's not honest. He's not honest, and I think most of the time they're talking about he's cheating or he's seeing somebody else. Do women want to hear that their man is actually having sex with somebody else?
I think that's what women mean when they say he's not honest, because I don't think it's about the act of cheating. I think it's about the story that's told after the act, because most men are not going to be honest, but they're not honest because they know they know their spouses are going to freak out, because nobody has been fully honest since the beginning of the relationship. So you can't bring that level of honesty in now when it wasn't there in the beginning.
At the beginning.
It's going to explode. You're going to have that ignitable moment where you all of a sudden want to bring harsh honesty to a relationship. If it wasn't there in the beginning, you can't bring it into year 10 and not expect an explosion after that.
And that is why I asked the question I asked earlier, that if we have more honesty now, people start fessing up and saying, listen, this is what I want. I don't want to be in a monogamous relationship. Even if I'm not seeing somebody else, because this is what I think. I think if I finish my show right now and I go to my wife and say, you know what, I don't think I want to be in a monogamous relationship. I want to see other people. I think the first thing she will come to her mind is, maybe I already have somebody. So maybe it's just my way of introducing, which it may not be so, but I mean, I think she know by now, because I've been saying this long before I even met her. I started the show in 2006, and I always said this: I do not believe that African men, black men, are made to have one partner. I don't believe it. We can, but it's not natural.
I don't think none of us are. I don't think it's natural.
Yes, see, when I say women, I can't talk for things. So I normally talk for my. By the way, although it's at the end of the show, happy International Man's Day, Kevin.
Same to you.
We don't get all of the bells and whistles and whatever. Like
happy International Men's Day, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dominique.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, guys, what else you want to say before we leave?
Thank you for stirring the pot again, Damien. Thank you very much, sir.
It's a pleasure.
It's good to know that I'm not the only one causing trouble in broadcast land.
Yep.
And what I want to say, Kevin, is thank you for teaching me something new today. I love the idea of learning something new. So thank you for teaching me my new word for the day. I appreciate that.
It is my pleasure and privilege. Thank you.
All right, guys. I don't know what happened to Carla. I'm going to find out. I hope it's nothing wrong, because last night, my female guest, she, like 30 minutes before the show, she asked me if it was a video meeting, and I said yes. And then, like 10 minutes to the show, she said she's on the way to the hospital. And during the show, she showed me the armband, and she felt she was apologizing. I'm like, no, your health come first. Remember, this is free, whatever. So she had some issues, which she said she's supposed to be all right now. But I hope, I hope that nothing is wrong with Carla, because she just disappeared on me, and that's not usually her. None of the message went through. But thank you very much again, Dominique. You know, my always, from the very first time you came on, I'm like, yeah, my spirit kind of connect with her. So, yep, thanks for coming on again. Guys, let the people know where they can follow you guys or whatever else you're involving.
Kevin?
Dominique?
Okay, I'll go. Well, I'm actually on another podcast, No Filter Productions. I actually do a show called Devil's Advocate that airs on Saturdays at 7:00. So feel free to catch us. We do live stream. You can also catch us on Spotify, The Devil's Advocate. So look forward to that. We just share knowledge in the neighborhood, just passing along information. We talk about everything from relationships to politics. So it's just a very interesting show. We're looking at getting off into different types of podcasts. So, but glad to be a part of the team. Ever since the first time I worked with you, Damon, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate the podcast. I appreciate the knowledge that you share, and I really do like the controversial conversation. We don't have enough of these conversations in our community, and I think we need to have them more often.
And by the way, I met her when I requested that the father is it what's the name of the group?
The Child Support Hustle.
It's Child Support Hustle.
Yeah, I'm also an advocate for child support reform. So yes, you can follow us on Facebook at the Child Support Hustle. You can view us at thechildsupporthustle.com. The founder of that movement, Kenya Rockman, you can please reach out and purchase her book. She wrote a book called The Child Support Hustle. Great read. But yeah, so. Yeah, I'm engaged in a lot of things. Plus, I have a regular 9 to 5, so I don't know when I sleep.
Still waiting on my shirt that does not have the full word of the FU thing on it.
Oh, no, I don't have the shirt today. You know, when we did the protest, I was wearing that shirt, and I actually had to go into the courthouse to use the restroom because there was only a restroom there. We were on the street corner protesting. They would not let me inside the courthouse with that T-shirt on.
Wow.
Yeah, they said you cannot wear that shirt in here. So
wow. that remind me of some people the other day. I saw them having this thing about Kroger's staff with 3 letters on the mask, BML. I'm like, no, you guys have other issues. It's not just the 3 letters. But anyway, Kevin, where can we find those 2 pots?
kevinstew.com. I do a live broadcast on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Mondays, community and finance. Tuesdays is healthy love, and Wednesdays is real talk. Tuesdays my health show. Wednesdays my show that I do, quite similar to this right here that we were talking about tonight. I have touched on, where we look on how we interact with each other on various levels and the psychology behind it. Every now and then I will have a social psychologist or a clinical psychologist on the broadcast. So we look at those aspects of life. But you can check me out, kevinstew.com, and on Saturdays on Reggae Global Radio so that is Monday to Wednesdays, 10 to midnight Eastern time. And on Saturday nights from 7 to 10, I do a music show on reggaeglobalradio.com. So you can find me in those places.
Go and check out my people. Thank you very much, Olive. She's a very interesting topic. Yep. So, all right. I don't think I'm going to get kicked out tonight. I don't think I say anything that I shouldn't have. If I'm gonna go live right after and post that, me get kicked out of my house. I'm just joking. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for spending this portion of your evening with me. Both my guests, Carla took for the first part. Those of you as my viewers, and please, people, I'm trying to get me what is that now? 196.
500.
Yeah, with that 3 or 4. So get me that 500. We're already a thing. So if you're not, tell some friends to just go over there and like, or people send it to me. That go and like this page over YouTube. So please copy it and send it to somebody and tell them to like my channel. Lifestyle TV it is. And thanks again. Until another time, my name is Damien Phillips. Thanks for being here. And if it's the will of the Father, we'll do this all over. Remember on Friday night, I play tomorrow. Friday, right?
Tomorrow night. Yep.
Yeah. Tomorrow night, party night. I play music Caribbean style from 9 until midnight as well. So bye-bye, Dominique. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye. Have a good one. Thanks again for having me.
You too. Kevin, big up yourself.
Blessings, man.
Cool.
Hey, tell us about your kind of songs. What's your objective?
Just for enlighten the people's mind, and to remind them of where we've been and where we are and where we need to go. There's somebody always has to be there with something positive. There's a lot of negativity on the radio right now, all around the world, and TV. So I wanted to be one of the positive things that people can watch and listen to. Try to get a job today, but when I'm still an application, them say, if this is where you really reside, please step outside. She asked them why, and they replied, we don't want no trouble, no. We don't want no trouble, no day. Cause lady, where you come from, people die there every day. And for our safety, that's where you should stay.
Thank you very much for your time, Ethan.
Man, MC Chinaman, this man. I tell the people, man, say, watch a program, Yeah, man, Damien Phillips every night live. Check.